You know, when you think of Leonardo da Vinci, what comes to mind? Probably the Mona Lisa, the Last Supper, right? Finished masterpieces. But what if I told you his greatest work was something he never even finished? So let's dive into the thousands of pages we call his notebooks, which aren't just a collection of sketches, but really a single, sprawling, lifelong attempt to write the book of everything.
And here's the thing, Leonardo knew it. He knew how this obsessive project might look to other people. He actually starts one section with this quote, almost like an apology. I mean, that's a pretty vulnerable way to start, isn't it? It shows you his anxiety that this whole massive effort might be seen as nothing more than a big, useless folly.
And that really gets us to the core conflict of the notebooks. It's this constant battle, you know? On one side, you've got this monumental ambition to capture and organize all of human knowledge. But on the other side, you've got a mind so relentlessly curious that it was constantly pulling him in 1,000 different directions at once.
Yeah, he was totally obsessed with finding what he called the proper order. How do you structure a book that's supposed to contain everything? I mean, where do you even begin? Do you kick things off with the science of water? Or, I don't know, designs for war machines? The anatomy of a bird's wing? Or a fable about a rat? This question pretty much haunted him.
And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures his dilemma. He totally got that theory and practice were always getting in each other's way. To explain one idea, he'd realize he had to invent something new, which would completely derail his carefully planned structure. His absolute biggest fear was that this entire project, his life's work, would just end up as a confused and incoherent mess.
And man, was he trying to fight that chaos. You see these little notes to self scribbled everywhere. Some are these grand, sweeping rules, like declaring that the science of mechanics has to come before the book of inventions. And then you get these really simple, almost funny reminders, like have your books on anatomy bound. It's the voice of a man trying to build this massive library while he's still sketching out the blueprints for it.
Okay, so while his mind is wrestling with this huge organizational problem, his eye was just this perfectly precise instrument. He could literally zoom from the cosmic and the chaotic down to the absolute tiniest detail in a heartbeat.
Okay, get this. Take his instructions for how to paint a massive flood. This isn't just, paint a big wave. No, it is a full-on movie storyboard. He's talking about families on makeshift rafts, animals making a temporary truce because they're all terrified of death. It's wild. He's imagining men fighting off lions for the last bit of dry land. I mean, this is apocalyptic-level imagination. And then, bam, that same eye zooms right in from all that epic destruction to the tiniest, most subtle flicker of human emotion. His notes for the Last Supper? They are an absolute masterclass in observation. He's not just painting 13 guys at a table. He is capturing 12 totally unique reactions in a single frozen moment of drama, right down to the little detail of the apostle who's so shocked he accidentally knocks over a glass. Incredible.
And sometimes that gaze got really chillingly journalistic. This is a sketch he did of a guy named Bernardo Baroncelli. He was one of the conspirators who tried to assassinate the Medici rulers in Florence. So they caught him, they hanged him in public, and there's Leonardo just standing there with his notebook, drawing it all.
But it's what he wrote down that's just wow. It's not just the sketch. He made this detailed, totally detached, almost cold inventory of the man's clothes. A tan-colored small cap, a blue coat lined with fur of fox's breasts. It's like an artist turned crime scene reporter. Pure forensic information, no emotion at all.
But Leonardo's mind wasn't just observing the present, of course. It was constantly designing the future. This is Leonardo the engineer, the inventor, the visionary who was, let's be honest, centuries ahead of his time.
So this is basically his resume. It's a letter he wrote to the Duke of Milan pitching his services. And what a sales pitch. I mean, listen to this. He's offering portable bridges, armored cars, basically a tank, unbeatable naval weapons, even secret tunnels for sneaking under enemy lines. The guy was a brilliant self-promoter. He knew exactly what a powerful ruler would want to buy.
But his vision for engineering went way beyond just war. He designed an entire ideal city. And his idea was, frankly, revolutionary. He imagined a city built on 2 levels. So you got the upper level, right? That's for the nobles, the gentlemen, so they can walk around freely away from all the noise and grime. Then there's the lower level, and that's for all the dirty work. Commerce, carts, supplies, the whole shebang. It's a design for urban efficiency and, social separation, hundreds of years before modern city planning.
So in the middle of all this science and engineering, you find this whole other Leonardo hiding in the notebooks.
Leonardo the storyteller. Yeah, he wrote fables, riddles, even jokes. It shows this really playful but also deeply moral imagination. Just listen to this one fable. It's short, it's brutal, and it's just brilliant. The oyster outsmarts the greedy rat, but in the end, fate in the form of a cat gets them both. It's this tiny, perfect little story about greed and how fate gets you in the end, all told in just a couple of lines. He also used his storytelling to create these incredibly vivid personifications of virtues and vices. And his portrait of envy, man, it is something else.
The poetic detail here is just staggering. Envy is wounded by symbols of peace and victory, because she hates to see other people succeed. Her heart is being eaten by a serpent. She carries a quiver, but the arrows are made of tongues, for slander. And the most chilling part? She rides on death itself, because, as Leonardo writes, envy never dies. It's just terrifying and beautiful all at once.
And all this, it brings us to the final part of the notebooks, and maybe the most revealing part of all. Because scattered in between all the grand ideas and the gorgeous drawings, you find the man himself, the everyday, personal, totally human stuff.
Like here, he's just reflecting on the human condition. He's talking about that person who works their entire life to get things, but is so scared of losing them that they never actually enjoy them. It's this timeless piece of wisdom, you know? A reminder to just live a little. And it's found right next to, like, a diagram of a catapult. And then you get this, his day-to-day reality, a simple list of who he paid in his workshop. Yep, the great Leonardo da Vinci had to do payroll. You can see payments to Salai, his longtime companion, and even someone named Arrigo, or Harry. It just grounds this legendary figure in the simple reality of running a business. So near the end of his life, Leonardo looked back at this vast, kind of chaotic collection of notes and said that, altogether, they made up 120 individual books. I mean, just think about that. That was the scale of his unfinished masterpiece, his book of everything. So the big question is, why didn't he finish it? Why didn't he finally organize it all into that one coherent work he dreamed about? Was he just lazy? Did he get distracted by other projects? I mean, what on earth stops a genius like that from finishing his life's work?
Well, the answer, in his own words, is maybe the most human and universal reason of all. It wasn't a lack of will or some flaw in his character. It was the one thing that even a genius can't invent or conquer: time. He just ran out of it. Farewell.